If you run an e-commerce business, one way or another, you also have to deal with taxes. Now, I get it, it's a fairly boring topic. It's definitely not one of my favorite topics, and I assume it's also not one of yours, but nonetheless, it's quite important, and I have so many people asking me about how to properly deal with taxes, like in the EU or in the US or wherever you sell, right? In most countries, there are some different tax laws, and there are different things to keep in mind. So in this video I want to at least explain you some of these things, especially when it comes to selling within Europe and also selling in the US, for example. So as I said, nobody wants to really deal with them, and I get a lot of messages of people like, how do I have to do that? How do I handle VAT? How do I handle taxes in the US? It's all pretty complicated. So in this video I want to give you my experience and my insights in that, even though of course I'm not an expert here. But hopefully after you watch this video you will have some more information and better ideas of how you really have to deal with this whole thing. So one thing up front, if you are really struggling with taxes and if you want to have a great tool that helps you doing your taxes correctly, I recommend Quaderno. It's a tool that I use myself for a couple of months now, and also the video isn't sponsored by them or anything like that, but it's a tool that I'm using myself, and that's really awesome when it comes to automatically detecting the right tax rates and everything. So it syncs with Shopify, and if you sell a product, then the tool will automatically generate an invoice and tell you how much taxes you have to charge in which, or you have to submit in which country according to the billing address of the customer, for example. So it's a great tool, you should definitely check that out. It also comes with a free trial, and this being said, let's get started. So let's assume that you are selling in Europe, right? We come to the US in a second. If you're selling in Europe, it's getting even more complicated because there are a ton of different countries. And in general, there is one thing that you have to determine, and this is whether your customer is an end consumer or a business. So if it's a business, and I assume in your case most of the time it's actually a consumer, but if it's a business and they have a valid VAT ID, so value added tax ID, then you don't have to charge taxes, because there is a so-called reverse charge thing going on, that if you sell to a business and you are a business yourself, that the buying business has to submit the taxes, right? However, if you're selling to an end consumer and they don't have a valid tax ID, which no consumer has if they buy it for themselves as a consumer, then you actually have to charge taxes depending on the country of the consumer. So if you're selling to a consumer in Germany, for example, then you have to charge 19% VAT, and then every quarter you have to submit the total amount of VAT to the different states within the European Union. Well, of course there are some shortcuts on how to actually submit this stuff, but this is essentially how it works. So you're selling only to end consumers, which I said I assume you do. Be aware of the fact that you have to charge individual tax rates in each individual European country. I think they range anywhere from 17% to 24% or something like that within the European Union. As I said, in Germany, for example, it's 19%. However, when it comes to the United States, the things look different, because here there is a thing called tax nexus, and you don't automatically have to charge taxes when you're selling to the US. However, there are so-called thresholds when it comes to taxes. Let's say, for example, you are selling in the state of New York, and when you hit $300,000 or $200,000 or something, I don't remember the exact number for New York, in total sales in 1 year, then you have to pay sales tax in that state, okay? So it's always a matter of looking at the individual state, and if you hit a certain sales threshold in that state, you are also obliged to pay sales tax in that state. There are also other requirements or other thresholds, like if you have an operation going on there, if you have an office in that state and stuff like that, then there are also other requirements and you have to pay sales tax right away and all that stuff. So there are a lot of individual cases where you have to pay or where you don't have to pay sales tax. So in the US, it's usually on the state level, and each state has its individual threshold with a total sales volume and also a number of transactions. So you have to be careful with that. As I said, Quaderno helps you with it because it shows you how many transactions you had in which state and how much sales volume you had in which state. So this is really helpful actually. Now, Of course, there are also countries besides Europe and the United States, but here things get really difficult because every country is different. Within Europe, things are pretty much the same. Within the United States, there are also not that many differences, but when it gets to like other countries, then I can also really help you. So the thing is, if you're selling in an e-commerce business and you sold more than just a handful of products, then you should check with an accountant anyway. So there is no way on earth that you can just do it all by yourself if you get a really good sales volume. And also, you shouldn't listen to my advice in these things because I'm not an expert. It's just like what I know about it. So there is no guarantee in what I'm talking about right here, but I still hope that it's helpful because it's how I do these things. I still have a tax consultant to watch over it all. But as I said, with the tool, it definitely helps me to get an idea of what is actually going on and what I have to do and all these things. But you should definitely check with an accountant as soon as you're getting more sales, because there will always be things that may be out of order here, just so that you make sure that you're actually compliant. Alright, so this was pretty much it. As I said, the most important thing is that you are aware of the fact that you have to pay taxes most of the time. I see many dropshippers, many e-commerce businesses, they are totally confused. They are no, as a dropshipper you don't have to pay taxes for some reason. I don't know why they think so, it's just totally stupid. But you have to check the individual situation. As I said, check with Quaderno to make sure, check with an accountant as soon as you make a decent amount of sales. And the most important thing is that you don't spend too much money. So let's say you make $10,000 in sales or $20,000, you had a nice profit margin, and what I see is many people then just wasting their money like that, and when they have to pay a few $1,000s in taxes, which they weren't aware of, they don't have any money in the bank to pay these, and then things get really, really bad. So if you are not sure what's going on, make sure that you at least save some money so that if something goes wrong, you can pay it, and not knowing what's going on, paying all your stuff, making $10,000 and immediately buying a super expensive Mac or something like that. This is the most important things. If you follow these advice, not that many things can go wrong. So I still hope that this was valuable for you. And if you enjoyed this video, leave a like below. Let me know in the comments how you deal with taxes. Which tools are you using? Do you use any tools? Do you have a consultant that helps you with that? And also let me know if anything was unclear. So thanks for watching, guys. Please subscribe if you want to see more e-commerce and dropshipping stuff like this. And now I'm looking forward to see you in the next video, and all the best with your business and your taxes as well.